So judging by the amount of people asking about this in the chat, I'm guessing I wasn't the only one who finished Octavia's Anthem, went back to my orbiter, opened up the foundry and went, wait, where do I get the parts? Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the game ever tells you where to go and get these parts. So I've either completely missed any clues or vague suggestions on where to go, or the game just straight up doesn't tell you. But don't worry, after being confused about this myself and also seeing a lot of people asking about this in the chat, I decided to do a very short, spoiler-free guide on how to get them. So the first mission we're gonna do is the Orokin Darlight Survival, and this is where we're gonna get the blueprint for the neuroptics. It drops on rotation C, so you have to spend at least 20 minutes there to have a chance of getting it. I personally got it on my first try, but I was a little bit suspicious, so I ran it again and I didn't get it, which makes sense because rotation C in ODS has multiple rewards. So build yourself a couple of Orokin Darlight Survival keys and you will eventually get it. Just remember that it drops on rotation C, so on minute 20, 40, 60 and so on. The second mission we're gonna do is the Plateau Crossfire Extermination on Lua. And I would recommend bringing in some decent gear because you will most likely end up fighting the sentients in here. Also, a good tip for fighting sentients is that if you hit them with your operator's beam, they will lose all their resistances, making them much easier to kill. Now, this is the mission where we're gonna get the systems and the chassis. The systems are exclusive to this one, so you can't do any other missions, but the chassis can be obtained in some other missions. Though you will most likely end up getting the chassis before the systems, because the blueprint for the systems is a reward from the caches. Now, there are always 3 caches you can find. Some of them are hidden like this one, but some of them not so much. They will just be in random rooms and you will usually see them as soon as you open the door. Though 99% of the time you will not be encouraged to go into these rooms by the game, so you definitely want to explore. Now, unless you're extremely familiar with this tileset and the rooms within this tileset, I would not recommend trying to find all 3 of them at all cost. It's good to explore and try to go into as many rooms as possible, but if you make it all the way to the extraction and you haven't found all 3 of them, I would just extract, because you don't need all 3 of them to get the blueprint for the systems. Yes, it's better to have all 3 of them because every single one has a chance of getting you the blueprint, but more often than not, when you go back from the extraction, you're just gonna end up running in circles because this tileset is really confusing. It has a ton of ginormous rooms and nooks and crannies where these caches can be in. And it's also a good idea to replay this mission a couple of times because you want to find this room right here. This is the room where you're gonna get the blueprint for the chassis. Now, this room can spawn in other missions as well, so you don't have to do this one specifically. However, I managed to find it 3 times before I got the systems blueprint from the caches. Now, this is a short memory puzzle, so interact with the console that's near the top and it will play 5 different notes and light up their corresponding pressure plates as they play. And to finish the puzzle, you just have to step on the pressure plates in the same order to play the same melody. Once you do that, it will spawn a container at the top of the central tower, which will give you the chassis blueprint. Now, there doesn't seem to be any RNG associated with this. If you find this room and you finish the puzzle, the container that you find on top will drop the chassis blueprint, which makes sense because you would have to go against 2 levels of RNG. First of all, does the room spawn, and then does the container give you the chassis? So unlike the caches, which are not guaranteed to give you the systems blueprint, this will give you the chassis blueprint every time. And let's quickly go over the resources. So for the chassis, you're gonna need 6,000 polymer bundles, 25,000 salvage, 1,500 plastids, and 3 neurodes. For the systems, you're gonna need 2,000 Kuva, 3,000 circuits, 5 Orokin cells, and 20 morphics. And finally, for the neuroptics, you're gonna need 1,000 oxium, 2,600 plastids, 4,800 polymer bundles, and 5 neural sensors. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching. As always, I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!